or get you into a college or jumpstart your career in whichever way you're looking for. So before I get started, I wanted to cover some agenda items so you guys are aware of all the different topics we'll be covering. So I want to start with telling you a little bit more about myself, my career journey, and where I come from. I often find that when doing this specific events and as a youth leader myself, I loved being able to hear from other stories because there is different and we can learn from each other. So I hope that certainly I can help you by sharing my story, give you some clarity. And then we're going to get into actually why we're here, LinkedIn and its history and why it became so important in our current times and how it revolutionized the job search era. We're going to do dive deep into some tips on how to build an effective profile, and that's where we're going to spend the most of the time because I want to make sure that I give you and provide you the tools on how to complete your profile. And then we're going to do some profile do's and don'ts. And finally, we're going to end with some deep dive on how to leverage your LinkedIn profile for internship search or job search or admissions recruiting for yourself. And then we're going to end, like John said, with some Q&A. Before I get started, I do want to mention that you're all on mute. So if you do have any questions or concerns or need me to clarify anything at the end, make sure you write them down so you don't forget them. And at the portion of Q&A, we'll open it up, the chat box, and answer all those questions that you may have. And speak also, if you have a question about your specific profile, I'll be happy to answer those questions then. So a little bit about me. So I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic. I moved to the United States with my family when I was about 13. We migrated here like many other immigrants in the pursuit of the American dream. I am a child of an immigrant mother, a single immigrant mother, and we moved here really because we wanted a better education and a better resources for us. And I watched my mom from a very young age really work many different jobs just to provide the essentials for my family and I, and to ensure that she can do the best she could to ensure that I had a better future. And from a very early age, that instilled in me the ability to really understand how to work hard and how to help others. Specifically, and why I'm telling you this is because this is why I do the work I do, and this is what inspired me to take my own career path in helping young adults, especially of minority communities and communities of color who don't have the resources, who don't have that support, or whose parents may not be aware of the educational system. And how to navigate it. So my why was very clear to me from a very early age. And that's what inspired me to study. I went ahead and got a degree, my bachelor's in Latin American Studies and International Relations. And then I jumpstarted my career in the nonprofit space. And throughout my different career journeys and the different roles that I've had, my focus, no matter what I was actually doing on my day-to-day, from being an operations person for the nonprofit and you know, collecting papers, getting coffee, I wanted to ensure that I left this world a little bit better than I left it and I found it. So in moving into the employment placement and connecting young adults to through their skill sets to Fortune 500 countries, internships and opportunities really allowed me to be able to give back, and attending a lot of LinkedIn webinars and working close to LinkedIn professionals really allowed me to hold the skills that I can share with you guys today to effectively manage your own career and move swiftly and utilize LinkedIn as a tool to be able to acquire and get to the next step in your career. And if you are a college student, get started in your career, or if you are applying to college, be able to be seen by an admissions recruiter. So before LinkedIn, and before we dive a little deeper into how LinkedIn became so important and why it's important that you all have a LinkedIn profile, I wanted to kind of make this a little bit interactive and pose the question to you guys. Before LinkedIn was such a well-known job search and networking tool, what do you think people utilized in the past to job search, and where and how did they build connections? So go ahead and type in your responses on the chat box, and John will read them off, and then we'll give you a minute and continue on with the presentation.
Don't be shy. I want to see a lot of comments. All right, so we have networking events, newspapers. A lot of people talking about newspapers. They went to a government office for job searches. That's true. Newspapers again, friends, families, alumni network, newspapers ads, and going to places, networking, newspapers or family and friends. Building connections at events, job fairs, internet or apps. Lucas, I think you are from my generation. Jobs, websites, friends, mentors. Diana, she knows about this, of course. Meetups, Glassdoor. Harris, I think you are from our generation Z, or really young people saying Glassdoor. Glassdoor didn't even exist. Monster, that's true. Monster, the platform. Call letters to companies that they were interested in. So calls, college job fairs, friends, recruiting companies. I think people already.
Yeah, I think those are perfect. So as you guys mentioned, before LinkedIn was really a lot of how people landed jobs was through word of mouth, newspapers, job postings. If you are of a younger generation, already Indeed and job search sites online already existed. But how LinkedIn really revolutionized the job search is that even when we did have sites like Monster or Indeed, those were just job listings, and you would put and file your application, and that's what the recruiter saw. It was often very reactive instead of proactive, and that's what LinkedIn did. It created sort of, if you think about an Indeed and a Facebook, it combined them, and it really allowed for recruiters and for you as professionals to showcase yourself as a full professional, as a full person, because it took away not just being able to have your experience and be able to showcase your talents through your awards or maybe your degrees, which you put on your resume. It allowed you to have your profile picture, be able to have all the other different components that we're gonna cover, to really build an authentic kind of an idea to the recruiter or hiring manager of who you are, and kind of want people to reach out to you because they felt like they kind of knew you a little bit more before they even saw you. It also allowed you to look for jobs outside of your zip code, outside of your country, and not only look for jobs, but be more proactive in building your network and in building connections and have contacts that you necessarily will not be able to have the chance to network with. Like, for example, you can go ahead and connect with the CEO of any company if you wanted to, right? I'm not saying go do that, but you will have the chance, if you build the right connections, to eventually get to that person and connect with them and see what they're sharing and kind of understand what their mindset is. So some other statistics on how that kind of show us how LinkedIn revolutionized the job searches. Now there's 30 million businesses on the platform, who are job posting and posting their jobs on there. There is a network of about 40 million decision makers on there, which is really important if you are job searching, because those are the people who have the power to be able to offer jobs and be able for you to network with, even if they don't have a job listing at the moment. Another part of what I mentioned is there's about 660 plus users around 200 different countries that you have access to. So even if you're not looking for a job and you're kind of using and utilizing LinkedIn as a more passive, you can kind of connect with people who have similar interests as you, who are in the same field as you, and you can simply create conversations and learn from other people. That may be in a different continent. That might be in a different place than you are in your career as well. And then lastly, I think it's a very strong point and a statistics that I want you guys to keep in mind, and which why LinkedIn is so important, is surveys said that 97% of job seekers acquire a job through LinkedIn. So that's really why it's so important that your LinkedIn is up to par if you want to be able to be part of the 97% and be active job searching or looking for internships, because you have a higher likelihood of having a job or looking for a new opportunity or finding one when you have a complete LinkedIn profile. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of how to build an effective profile and what are the different components. There's 4 things. First is build your profile summary and headline. So your headline is right here, right below your name, and that typically gets populated automatically by LinkedIn. So whatever you have on under your experience, your current experience, or if you don't have any experience and you just have your school that you're attending to, that will automatically populate there. What you want.
Paola, I'm sorry to interject. There's a comment on the chat about a live, or kind of like, are we gonna go through a profile? And the answer is yes. So Paola's gonna go to these mock-ups and these pictures, but then we're gonna go into the platform and you're gonna see it live. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, no worries. Yes, absolutely. So what you want to make sure you do with everything, that if you take anything away from today's seminar, is that you want to be as proactive as possible. LinkedIn is not really for reactivity, it's very being proactive. So LinkedIn will populate automatically things that their algorithm just pulls from your profile and your experience. If you are adding anything, you want to make sure through all of these steps that I tell you that you yourself are editing and being able to tell your own story and building your profile how you want people to view it. So the first step is the headline. The headline should include your past job experiences or your current job experiences that you're looking for. So the more titles you have, the better, because what happens is, when I, as a recruiter, go onto the job search site and say, let's say I'm looking for a retail analyst because I have a job posting opened, that the profiles of the individuals who have that specific job titles come up. So the more likely that you have different titles and different kind of expertise, the more likely you are to come up on a recruiter or decision maker's site when they search for that specific title. And I'll show you how to do that as well. And then the other thing that's really important is build your summary, your profile summary. And that is often called the about me right under your photo. And there are 4 different components to building an effective profile summary. First is, what is your job experience? Tell me the different titles. And within which industry do you possess those specific skills or job titles? The second is, explain what you are an expert at in terms of your hard skills. And hard skills are your technical skills, right? What are you good at? So if I am Paola, I'm in HR, I have skills in sourcing, talent mapping. If I am an IT person, I have experience in building code and softwares, right? Those are hard skills. Then the third component is, tell me about your soft skills. And those are often more your leadership skills, your ability to be able to work with diverse people, your ability to communicate effectively, be innovative, things like that. The other and the last component that your summary should end with is a call to action, or tell me, where do you see your career goals and passion going? So a call to action is for those of you who are utilizing LinkedIn right now for job search. And that is really, you would end that with saying, I am interested in X, Y, and Z job roles. Feel free to send me a message or include an email if you feel comfortable for recruiters. So that cues them that you are available to have those conversations. If you're using
minutes and we're going to sit, okay?
If you're just utilizing LinkedIn a bit more passively, John, can you go on mute perhaps? Thank you. If you're using LinkedIn a little bit more passively and you're just kind of using it to network and you're not necessarily looking for a job, or you are applying for college and you're using it that way, tell the person who's reading it what is your passion and what are your career aspirations post your own career in your current job, or what you like to do in the future. Because this just provides the recruiter or whoever is looking at your profile with a holistic kind of idea of who you are. The second component is include a professional photo and a custom URL link. Both of these things are super simple and the most basic aspect that all LinkedIn profiles should have. I cannot tell you as a recruiter how many times I discounted people that had the experience for not having a LinkedIn profile photo. That's not to say that, you know, we didn't reach out to some people who had amazing experience, but that shows that you really didn't put the time into building a tool that is so widely used as a professional. It kind of shows a little bit about your detail to orientation skills. So you want to make sure that these are the most basic things. It doesn't take that much time. Building your profile summary takes a lot more time. Do the basics first. And the photo doesn't have to be professionally taken. You can simply just post behind a solid background and have someone take it and, you know, dress professionally, look sharp, and have someone take it on your phone. And then the URL is really important for utilizing that and you putting it on your resume. Because that shows recruiters and hiring managers that you're really very detailed to orientation person and took the time to update that URL link. And it makes it, again, this is like your Facebook page, your Instagram, everything that you have in life, you kind of hone it in and make it your own. So do the same with LinkedIn. The other thing is add your internship, jobs, and any volunteer experience you have on LinkedIn. So if you do have already a resume that's been vetted, that you've worked really hard on, make sure just copy and paste those bullet points of your jobs right onto LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn profile should look just like your resume in terms of the experience, volunteer, and maybe awards if you're a high school student, or any scholarships that you may have won. You want to make sure that everything is on there. You can either just copy and paste it, just like how you have it on your resume, or you can include your experience as summaries, little snippets of kind of your experience in every specific job and what your job tasks are. I prefer and would suggest that you always include specifically every task that you have done, because it allows as a recruiter for you to have a quick idea already of all the job tasks that you perform. And what recruiters do is that they're kind of trying to match whatever job opening and what they're looking for to your job task that you have in your job experience. So you have a higher chance of a recruiter calling you if you have that much detail on your profile. And then lastly, the last component is your recommendation. This is the easiest perhaps way of acquiring a recommendation. In the past, people will ask for letters that were really long and no one had the time to do. I think this is a really easy way to get, it's 1 or 2 sentences to get your past employees, a teacher, a professor, so your colleague that worked with you, your direct manager, to write just a couple different sentences of how they worked with you, in what industry, and why would they recommend you to any other job. This really gives the recruiters an idea of who you are again, and kind of skips a lot of the work that they have to do. Yes, eventually recruiters still call your recommendations, but they have that information at hand. Sometimes they'll tell you, hey, do you want me to just call the same individuals that recommended you on LinkedIn? You already skip a step right there, instead of being able to have to provide them with the information, contact information for those recommendations. So I wanted to show you my LinkedIn profile and an example of what we were kind of talking about in terms of the headline. So this is where I say it's really important for you to put all the different job titles, all the different skills that you possess, because I have customer success manager, which is my current role, recruiter, career advisor, and talent acquisition specialist. And you can just include those little lines here and spaces to be able to add as many titles as you can. And that's letting recruiters know, or depending who's looking at my profile, know that those are all my skills and those were my past skills that I am open for. Now, if you were already, I don't know, if you had a job that you really don't love and you never wanted to have that title again, and you're not looking for jobs in that field, I would include it. Only include jobs that you would be open for job positions for recruiters to come up during those search. Now, in terms of the about me, this is what I have, and I wanted to kind of read it with you guys so you have an understanding of the different components and how that worked. So I'm an experienced recruiter and customer success professional with a demonstrated history of working in the nonprofit, organization management, and tech industry. So I already told you all my different titles that I've had and job positions and in which industry, which matters, because there are very specific recruiters who look for a recruiter, let's say, or HR professional, but in a very specific field. So you want to make sure that you include that for that specific detail. In addition to this, I am a professional with a passion and expertise with career coaching, talent management, sourcing, and youth development. That tells the recruiter all the skills that I possessed and that I'm potentially fit for that specific job task that I know how to do. Along with my expertise, I consider myself to be courageous, innovative, efficient, accountable professional with highly developed communication and interpersonal skills. So this is where I include my soft skills, all those skills that we all possess, to make sure that I create more of a person to the recruiter or the hiring manager. My professional aspiration, and this is my call to action or inspiration, null piece. My personal aspiration is to touch and improve the many lives of talented, underrepresented professionals within the corporate world through the advocacy of diversity and inclusion sphere. So you know that if you were a recruiter looking for someone interested in diversity and inclusion, with a passion in that, then you'll reach out to me, right? So the more information I'll put on your LinkedIn and allow the people looking at your profile to know, the more likely you are to be getting outreach from the right people, because you want to be intentional. A lot of what happens with job search is that often we do get kind of like, I just need a job, and you're applying for a million things, and it's not intentional. And then you kind of wonder why you end up in jobs or roles that you're not really interested in, that are not your passion, or that people don't really understand you when they do reach out to you and you're not interested. The more details, the more time you add in your LinkedIn, the more likely you are to get to the next career goal and path that you want. So some additional tips for building your profile. Some do's. Let's start with the do's. A summary that explains who you are and what you're interested in. That's the about me that we just talked about. Employment experience, including any part-time or summer jobs. So for my younger audience, make sure that you include any job. Sometimes working with youth, I would hear, well, I've never had an actual job. If you babysit, and that's a job, right? If you babysit multiple times, that's a job. If you help as you're babysitting, if you helped your cousin every couple of weeks to complete their homework, you're a tutor, right? So just think about all the little things you do that may seem like not a job as experience, because you are utilizing your skills to help someone else do something that they can't originally do. So just think of that for my newcomers. And then include specifically, this is important for my college students or my high school students, include your honors, awards, any scholarships you ever received. especially if you're utilizing LinkedIn to apply for colleges or applying for scholarships yourself if you're already in college. Admissions staff really look at this to ensure that you're a top-notch student. The other thing that you should do is ensure that you're an active member of LinkedIn. So let's say you went through this webinar and you're like, okay, I did all the things that Paola said I needed to do to make sure that I had an effective profile. You need to be active within the actual platform. If you're job searching specifically, make sure that you log in once a day. You should be, right? Because you should be applying for jobs every day. If you're not job searching and you're just using it to network, still, you should still be online, adding comments to posts, liking comments, even if you write articles, post your own articles. That's the best way to stand out to recruiters as well. So the more reactive you are on LinkedIn and active you are, just like if you were on Instagram, the more the algorithm starts to pull you up on searches. So the more likely you are to be seen by a specific person, by a specific recruiter. And the more likely you're to appear, if you're more active on your LinkedIn, on recruiters search. Some don'ts, ensure that your photo does not.
Paola,
Yep.
just one thing for the older crowd, I wanted to add into the do's, because I don't want them to feel hanging. It's that if you are part of a board, if you are volunteer in your city, if you are involved with your kids' education in the PTA, if you are a coach for soccer in your city, or if you are going through a leadership program and you got a certificate, if you're involved in any way of shape or form in anything outside of your job, there is a section on LinkedIn that gives you the ability to add those into, and we're going to go over a profile. You're going to see those. When did you serve? If you are part of a non-for-profit board, right? Please make sure that you add those, and those are going to help you, as Paola mentioned, to make your profile more, I guess, more likely to be seen by people that you want them to find your information about.
Yeah, thank you for that, John. And also certifications are really important, especially if you are in the tech space. Certifications are super crucial. If you in the HR space, every career kind of has their own certifications. Make sure you add those as well, because those are really important and will stand out to recruiters for sure. Some of the don'ts additionally is don't write any statuses that are not professional. This is for my younger crowd. Nothing against you, of course. I've committed this felonies when I first joined LinkedIn. It's really easy, and I've seen an influx of this more often than not now, because everyone is home, for people to kind of confuse LinkedIn with Facebook. Let's say a lot of people, I've seen them post like articles that kind of seem like just news articles that don't have anything to do with the actual professional world. Now, if you're sharing an article about how a specific company donated X, Y, and Z money to a nonprofit or things like that, that's good. You can share that on LinkedIn. But it has to be business oriented, right? If you are, let's say, a student or an adult and you're volunteering and you have you join a charity and you want to take a photo with the group, that's also great. But don't share photos of you and your friends doing nothing, right? This is again for professional use, and you want to use it as often as possible, but make sure you're intentional with the content you share. And always remember, and I have to say this, everything that you post online will always stay online even if you delete it. So just be really intentional about the content you share. The other thing is build an account and never logged in. Don't do that. Again, be an active member, even if you're not posting articles, because not all of us are writers. It's fine. Comment on other people's articles that they're posting, reshare articles or posts that you feel that are important to you, because that starts to build your own timeline, and gives and people an idea of who you are and what causes you care about. And then the last thing is just make sure you don't overshare too much personal information on there. If you don't feel comfortable sharing your personal email, people can always just direct message you. And if you are connecting with individuals, please add a note. If you just went to a networking event, for example, and you met someone that you would like to stay in contact with, make sure that you write, and it doesn't have to be too long. It could just be, hey, Jim, I met you at X, Y, and Z event. Thank you so much for X, Y, and Z conversation. We'll love to stay connected. You're more likely to have people, especially if they're kind of higher level, answer and connect with you, and begin that conversation, even if it's not like an immediate thing, to connect with you and answer your request back. If you are, let's say you want to make plans with someone and you want to catch up for lunch or coffee with that person, make sure you include that on that message again, and you're more likely to start that conversation. So now that we kind of know all the aspects of how to build a profile, how to actually leverage it to search for LinkedIn for jobs or internships. So there are two components in this photo. So the top photo shows you an idea of what LinkedIn looks like for those of you when you log in for job search. So in the top, you'll see here that you have the ability to write the specific job title or a specific company that you're looking for. Most people search for job titles because you want to make sure those come up. And you have the ability to really create search alerts, which means that anytime, let's say you're looking for marketing jobs or specific operations coordinator jobs, anytime a company posts that specific title, you will get an alert to your phone or your email, whatever you set it up to. And that's really important for those of you who are seeking job employment, because what happens often is that LinkedIn gets influxed with so many. So you want to make sure you're one of the first people that the recruiter can look at the application for. And that's a really good tool to use. The other component that we have on LinkedIn that's really helpful is if you are applying heavily and you want to kind of save yourself some time in a day, you can make sure you filter to have jobs that come up only with easy apply. And easy apply simply means that you can apply to that job specifically on LinkedIn, and it won't take you, like, let's say this job, to that specific company's job site to do the whole application. If you are going to use the easy apply and apply through LinkedIn, which takes 2 seconds, make sure your profile is complete, because that's literally what comes up at the recruiter when they see it. And also make sure you attach your resume, because it will send you your updated resume. It will send you, the recruiter, a direct link to your resume as well. So let me share my screen. And for those of you who have never been on LinkedIn.
So Paola, let me do something. Can you unshare and then reshare your screen, because something happened with the presentation and some of our guests are not seeing the presentation.
Okay. Let me reshare. Here we are. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so for those of you who may be new to LinkedIn, if you don't have an account, you simply go to linkedin.com and you join now. When you click join now, it'll just take you to create an email. You utilize an email and create a password, and then you can join. For the email, please make sure, and this is for my younger viewers, that it's a professional email, that it's your name and last name. And if your name is really common like mine, this is why I have a 0 all the time, or a specific number that you choose. But make sure it's a professional email. So once you're in LinkedIn, let's say you already created your account, you will sign in. And you'll utilize the job search tab. Once you're in the job search tab, there's a couple of different features that I wanted to show you. This is really great for people actively looking for jobs, right? It will save the job searches and the history that you constantly keep looking for. And that helps if you are looking for many different jobs at once. So as you can see here, it saved all these different job titles that I've searched in the past. And simply if I click on it, it'll just automatically create a job search. Want to go back so I can show you. It will also, what LinkedIn does, which is really smart, and that's why their algorithm really works, is that all the jobs that you've applied for, it will kind of take the listings up and suggest jobs that you would be interested in. And you can simply kind of go through them and apply. And this is, again, like you see here, this is an easy apply job, which will take less time than any other job that doesn't have the easy LinkedIn, because it will send you to that job poster's website in their company. The other great tool that you can use is to stay on track with your job search. So if you have applied to so many jobs, it could get really hard to keep track of the jobs that you apply and the companies. So LinkedIn really does a great job in this jobs tracker to allow you to put all the jobs that you saved. So let's say you saved it because you didn't apply that day, you wanted to go and fix your resume before you apply or fix something on your profile, you can leave it here and come back to it and apply to it. Now, then there's this apply tab that shows you all the different jobs that you've ever applied. And this is really great when you do start to get phone calls a month later and you probably forgot what job you applied for. You can quickly just pull the job listing again and talk to the recruiter. So if we go back, one of the other great tools on LinkedIn is, like I said, the job alerts. So here you simply can add as many job titles as you want. And please make sure to turn this on so LinkedIn can recommend jobs that you are interested in based on these job titles. And you can edit them and add as many as you want. The other thing you can do is, let's say I'm looking for diversity and inclusion jobs, is the filtering option. Here you have so many. You have sort by most relevant or most recent. Most relevant means this job is the most relevant to you given your location, for example, what I have here, or any other job, any other filters that I've put on here. Date posted is really great too if you are really actively applying, because you have the ability to source by different periods of time of when the job posting was last posted. Obviously, if you are constantly job searching, you always want to apply to the job posts that were recently just posted, because if you do apply for like past month, you'll see that those jobs already got so many applicants. I won't say don't apply. You never know. Sometimes jobs do stay open because the recruiter hasn't found the right person or the hiring manager, but you're more likely to get a call if you're one of the first applicants. So you can use this filter for that. Another feature is the LinkedIn features. So this is what I was referring to, easy apply. If you click here, you'll only see job postings that have the easy to apply feature if you're looking to save time on a day. But just make sure that if you are using that, you're not overusing it, because lots of companies still post jobs where they want you to take that extra step, and recruiters do that on purpose to kind of take away those applicants that may not be too eager or want to spend too much time. And that's a way of filtering out candidates, actually. So you want to make sure you don't overuse the easy apply feature. And then the other filters is under 10 applicants. It's really hard to find sometimes, those. As you can see, there's 0. And then in your network, this is really helpful to see job postings where you have connections with someone. So let's say that I apply for a job in LinkedIn and John and I have a similar connection, or I have a direct connection to someone that works at that company, that will come up. And that's great, because then you can take the extra step aside from applying for the job to reach out to that specific person and say, hey, I saw a job posting. I'm interested in an X, Y, and Z role. Interested if you can tell me a little bit more about the company or the role, or just connecting. And then you have here Fair Chance Employer, which was just recently added, which is really great. Filter. And then you can kind of here look at all the different companies that have posted for this specific title. And if you are looking for a specific company, this will be helpful for you. And then there's additional features. So for, let's say if you're looking for a job really close to your house, you can use the distance kind of filter. You can also use the salary filter if you are looking for a very specific salary and you don't want to even apply for jobs that are below or above your wage that you're willing to accept. Your job type is really important. Are you looking for full-time, contract work, location? Experience level is my favorite, especially for my more junior people looking for jobs. Here you can click on internships, on entry-level positions, associate position, mid-senior level, director level, executive, and you can filter out a lot of those jobs, postings that are not really relevant to your job experience, and it will save you a lot of time. Because sometimes what recruiters do, that they don't put it in the job title, they'll just put it on the experience level when they're actually creating the job posting. So it will help you better filter those jobs that have a specific experience level requirement. And then you have the titles here, industry, if you want to get really nitty gritty, like if you are looking specifically for jobs in the financial services sector, in the technology sector, you can go ahead and click. Benefits, remote work, which is really famous now. We're all doing remote work. Any specific benefits you want. All these filters here are meant for you to save time and really not just apply massively to anything. So the more, again, the more time you put into this job filters, the more likely you are to apply for jobs that you're getting a call back for or that you're really interested in. Here, which is the last thing, you can also put the specific location of the job that you're looking for. And the job task, for anyone who has never seen one of these, the job openings will tell you a little bit more about the company, the requirements, the level, which I mentioned before. This is all filled out by the job poster, so it will really help you understand if you're qualified for that job, or if you even want to apply for that job. So this is a very simple walkthrough of how to utilize all the different filters, and how to keep yourself on track with job task. I'm gonna open it up. I know I said a lot. For any questions or any more.
Yeah, we have already a question on the chat, and please, if you have other questions, make sure that you asking Paola. Again, thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us, Paola. And I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're going to spend around 10 more minutes on Q&A. If you have to go, please post your question and put next to it, I'm leaving. I will make sure that I find your name on our list of our SVPs and send you the answer to your question. There was a question from Jana Lin, or Jen. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Jana. What about being overqualified? Should we remove some education?
No, I don't think you could ever be overqualified, just like how you can be ever overdressed for a job. I honestly do think I see what you're saying. Sometimes recruiters shy away and disqualify you because they necessarily don't want to pay you for, let's say, certifications or things like that. But that's an honest conversation that I hope you would have with a recruiter who reaches out to you, or any company you want to work for, right? You want to make sure that you're getting paid fairly and that your company values your hard work. Like going to school for a certification or a degree, that took a lot of time. So they should really appreciate that. And I would not take away any experience from your LinkedIn. Now, depending on your seniority level and your experience level, if you're more entry level, you can't take away experience because you have to have like a 1-page resume. But if you're more senior level, you should include absolutely all of your experience. Also, it's also about relevancy. So if you've had many different jobs, many different experience level, and you're looking for a specific role, take away those roles that are not really relevant to your job that you're looking for. So keep that in mind as well. Hope that answers your question.
There is another question in terms of the requests, right? So sometimes we get a lot of requests of connections. So what are your thoughts on connections? Should we accept everyone that requests to connect, or be more selective and be sure that your connections are people in the same field or a field that you are interested in? This is from Charlene Armstrong.
So I think great questions. This is twofold. Depends again on your experience level. If you are someone who's more junior and you're just starting your career, and you just opened, let's say, your LinkedIn, you want to make sure you connect with as many people as possible, because that will increase your chances of networking. But if you're a more seasoned professional, you should really hone in on your network and not accepting everyone. Again, that's why it's really important to write those notes, and weaving people out and those who don't write you a note. And because at the end of the day, I've seen a lot of professionals who have like thousands of connections and they don't know anyone there. So then when you go and let's say you apply for a job and you're like, oh, you have this person in common, reach out to them. You don't actually know them. You just accepted them and you never made the connection. So make sure you take the time, if you are looking to accept anyone, to get to know why would you accept that person and how they can help you in the future.
That is correct. And I know Harish Agisha is asking about showing the action feature. And we will have time. We will go through the action button on the LinkedIn. But let me just get into the next question. Just to add to that, I will say that, as Paola mentioned during her presentation, I created LinkedIn when it started. So I have, I don't know, thousands of people now connected. It has evolved. Before it was people that you met face to face. Like if I met Paola in a meeting, I will go next day or the same night with her business card and put her information and connect with her on LinkedIn. Now it became more Facebookish and it's dangerous. And a lot of people are not accepting people they don't know. They never had a call with, never had a meeting or coffee or dinner or lunch. I will make sure that you are cautious of adding people or requesting people you don't know. But take the risk sometimes. There are panelists at events like Paola today that you want to connect with her. Feel free to send a note that says, hey, I was in your presentation today. I would love to connect, so the person is not getting an invitation out of the sudden. And it doesn't matter if it's not in your field. As Paola mentioned, there's people who are in the tech industry, like in my industry, that we are connected to education, to higher education, to K-12, to non-for-profit. So just make sure that is a person who is maybe related to your topic of interest more than your industry. There's another question from Cynthia Martinez. It says, what can you say if your job is totally different to what you are studying in college, for example? Welcome to our world, Cynthia. Right now, I am working at a pharmacy and I'm studying legal studies in college.
So that's a great question. And it's really about kind of honing your experience and using those transferable skills, and really talking about how your skills in being a pharmacist right now in your current role can generate interest when you write it on your resume. And that's a different webinar on how to kind of write an effective resume that shows someone, when you are looking for, let's say, political science roles or internships, that you have those transferable skills that can match whatever job title you're looking for. And that all depends on the job again, and it's kind of different fold, but focus on transferable skills. What is it that I'm looking for? What are the job titles and what field that you're looking for? And focus on what skills have you learned in your current role that you can take to that new role that you're looking for.
Again, we have another question before we get into money about the action button. Can you show it really quick so people can see it on the LinkedIn page?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got the questions. I got you.
A little delay. Oh, hold on. It's on my LinkedIn. Can you still see my screen, guys?
No.
No? Okay.
You have to share it. Yep. And I see your question, Bunny. I also see the other questions. So just give us a minute because we want to make sure that we show this so Harry should stop asking me about it. Which is fine. Really, just joking.
No, it's really good though. So what I imagine the call to action, are they referring to the turning on your job?
I imagine that's the one.
Recruiters okay, so that happens when you go on your profile here. This is your profile. Here, right under it, you'll be able to see a thing that says, let recruiters know that you're open for jobs. And you can include the job titles that you're looking for, and you can add as many titles as you want that you're interested in recruiters reaching to you out about. The specific locations, those are really important to fill in, that you're willing to accept a role in, the job types, contract, part-time, internship, volunteer work, remote work, and then you'll let recruiters know. You can have only let recruiters know. And that's important because I've gotten this in past webinars, asking, hey, like, what if I have my colleagues or my direct manager and I'm connected to, which you should, because I think I saw a question around that. You should always add your colleagues, your direct managers on LinkedIn, specifically if you want them eventually to write your recommendation or just be part of your network. That way, they won't see that you have that active, only that you're actively looking for jobs. Only recruiters are allowed to see the people who are available looking for jobs. Now, if you are connected to your recruiter in your company, they will be able to see that. So before I turn that on, and maybe you don't want your direct managers to know that you're necessarily looking for a job, or anyone in your company, maybe unfollow that specific person, your recruiter in your company, to make sure that they don't see that you're searching for a job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a great answer. And I will add to that, before you even turn it on and do exactly what Paola mentioned, utilize your LinkedIn to send a message to like top people that you know in your network, that will help you to find a job in their jobs or with their connections. So send a note to like 4 top people that you know on LinkedIn, like, hey, I'm thinking of transitioning. This is, you could check my profile to see my skills and my jobs in the past. So make sure that you are recommending me if you see anything on LinkedIn, and people will send you stuff right away. There's a couple of other questions, and I think that answers Bunny's question. Bunny, please let me know. I think it was around that. So there was another one here. Cynthia says, I'm sorry, it was Harish again. What do you suggest whether we send or accept the connection from the existing company colleagues we are working? I think it's like what is the suggestion for accepting people that you're currently working with? And I guess, yes, accept them if you want to connect with them. Um, this is a really good question. It's what about a gap time? How do I explain that?
So gap times are really interesting. And that's when you honestly, it depends on the company, it depends on their mindset, the recruiters, the hiring managers. I can tell you for certain that this is the truth for every single hiring manager, every single recruiter out there. But the best way to explain gap times is to be honest. So let's say you apply for, like, there's no other way. They will have to reach out to you first to ask, for an interview. And in that interview, make sure that that's the first in the screen call, the first thing you mention, one of the first things, right? Acknowledge that. Don't let it kind of fester like the elephant in the room, because then it's just showing the recruiter that there's something you're hiding or you're feeling uncomfortable. So just answer it head on and say, hey, yeah, I've had a gap time for X, Y, and Z because I was doing X, Y, and Z. So just acknowledge it and make sure that that's in the first conversation you have with the recruiter, that you provide them with an answer, and be completely honest about it. But there's honestly no other way to deal with gap times. Sometimes maybe if you do volunteer experience in between those gap times, then make sure you put that in your LinkedIn profile.
There's two last questions, and I'm sorry we have to wrap up because we already went way over the time. One is from Cynthia Martinez. She said, how should I set up my profile if I am going into college and only had a serious job? I am on the junior side of this meeting.
And she had no jobs? Sorry.
One serious job.
That's okay. Honestly, the best you can do is include that one job. And if you are looking for another job, really hone in on your volunteer experience, any other maybe leadership roles and clubs that you may be part of, hone in on those, and focus, like I mentioned in the previous question, on your transferable skills and making sure that you're putting those top of mind of that job that you're looking for in that job title or job description of the current job you have. Always the best way to job search, and this is kind of a different seminar, is look at the job title and explanation that you're looking for. And you literally want to have the most similar experience and the same wordings on your own experience and job titles, because that's what algorithms do. They match and they want to copy and paste. So the more similar your experience can seem to the job titles and tasks that you're looking for, the better.
Paola, one last question. Nicole Sadler said, what advice can you give to someone who would like to change their industry? Example from administration to computer technology, which is happening a lot now.
Yeah, that's great. Again, transferable skills. That's when you would have to hone in on those. And the other thing is maybe focus on joining groups on LinkedIn that show your interest in that specific kind of side of the industry. And also just ensuring that perhaps if you can take an online course, if you've taken any certifications, any programs or seminars, if you join, you can add those on LinkedIn to showcase that you are interested in that career path and transitioning. And that's also really great for you to acknowledge on your About page, on your About and your profile, because that will tell sometimes recruiters that you are looking for jobs within outside of your realm of experience currently.
All right, Paola. So I know there's a couple of questions there, but unfortunately we have to move on. If you want to stay, Jaden and Jana, you're welcome to stay. Paola, you have 5 minutes to answer those questions. But we're going to wrap up. So whoever needs to go, please do so. We really appreciate your time today. We had more than 50 people connected, so it was kind of like 50%, which is a huge turnout for a webinar. But thank you for attending. Paola is going to answer the last two questions, but if you have to walk out of the room, walk out of the room, no issue, no problem. You will not get punished. We're not in school.
John, one thing I did want to show the remainder of the people that stayed here is this little, and I'm not presenting again.
No, you're
this
not.
little handy tool if you are applying for jobs, which is a lot of job posting, and this is kind of a newer feature in the last 2 years that LinkedIn has added. Some jobs include this. It tells you who the job poster is, and it's often a recruiter. So great, apply to the job, but also reach out to this recruiter. And you will not believe how many people actually don't reach out to the recruiter directly. And the recruiters, if you send them a message, they'll answer you most of the time, because most people don't. They're like afraid of putting themselves out there. And it could be something very simple as, hey, I just applied for this specific role. I'm very passionate about X, Y, and Z in this company. I have experience in X, Y, and Z. I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about your company and would love to connect. That's it. It doesn't have to be too long. And 50% or more of the time, they'll reach back out to you over people who just apply and never contacted them. So definitely use this in mail.
Definitely. There's another question here that actually the two questions that we wanted to address. One is, should be totally open in an interview if you don't have experience or a lot of experience. Then we have to do another webinar with you around this resume building and interview skills. So should you go into an interview knowing that you don't have the experience, or you just don't have a lot of the experience?
So first of all, you will not get the interview if the recruiter themselves don't think they don't have the experience. If you already made it to an interview, that means that the recruiter saw something in you that they want. So you should be really happy and proud of yourself, and be able to, if you do feel like, oh, I don't exactly have this, all the different things or skills they're looking for, be able to speak about all the things that you are really great at and leverage your previous experience that could be helpful for this role. Often a lot of recruiters don't only look for, can you do all this job task, but what else do you bring to the table? So be able to explain if you are a community organizer, an activist, if you have outside interests that you take place leadership roles that you can then recreate in the job environment, because people are also hiring for good fit for their company and their culture company, and people who can add something that's different. Just go in confident and don't focus on all the things you don't know how to do. Focus on, like, let's say they are looking for a specific skill, maybe speak about how you're a quick learner or something like that, right? But definitely hone in on the things that you do know how to do well outside also of that job task and role.
The last question actually was with Jana again. It was, what about more you're showing recruiters see how old you are and prefer younger candidates?
So no one should ever ask you, well, how old are you? Often you will see that on the application. Unfortunately, it's not something that's been removed on your date of birth. But in your picture, I have seen a lot of people who post photos of themselves when they're a little younger. But I would shy away from that, because there's nothing more kind of weird than seeing someone that doesn't look the same as they see it anymore when you meet them in person. And if you're working for a company that doesn't want to hire you because of your age, you probably don't want to work for that company. And I've worked with some of those startups. There are startups out there that are very want to focus on younger people, and that's their focus. You probably don't want to work for that company.
Right, I do agree with that, and that is kind of like the bottom line. Hey, Paola, this was great. People stayed. Look, we have almost 30 people still here. They want to get more from you.
Awesome.
So we unfortunately have to go, but thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Paola, again. This is going to be available on our YouTube channel, which is coming at the end of June with all our webinars, not just with this one, but the one around mindfulness, technical colleges, the aviation industry, and this one here when they around LinkedIn. So please stay tuned. Right after this, for everyone who joined us today, we will be sharing our PowerPoint presentation in a little thank you note. So, and I also know that Paola is sharing some extra resources for everyone, a checklist. So just make sure that you are checking on that as well. You can connect with Paola on LinkedIn, so you could ask her more questions. Maybe she's going to charge you for her advice. We all need to create some business out of this COVID-19. But anyways, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your participation on the chat. And again, Paola, thank you again for always being open to help us here at the foundation, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, guys. I hope you have a great day and hope that it was helpful. Feel free to connect with me, like John said, on LinkedIn.
All right. Thank you, Paola.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya.